Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jeff Lanoski. I'm in my garage workshop. And this is my collection of Reeb bikes. This week I'm going to give you a walk through each one and tell you what makes each one special. So as you could imagine, I have tons of bikes and tons of bike gear. But for the 5 bikes I ride all the time, I wanted to get them super accessible, and that happened to be in front of my garage door. But I still wanted to be able to open that garage door for sunny days like today where I can get some fresh air and some sunshine. So let me show you this really cool bike rack that I made before we dive into the bike checks. What's really neat about this is I anchored off of the cement wall, put in one post, and I can open the garage door and it goes up and over the bikes. So on a nice day, I could open it up, my bikes are hanging there, I can still get some sunshine, still get some fresh air. So I have 5 bikes to show you. We'll start with the one with the biggest wheels. First bike I want to talk about is my Reeb Ridiculous. My goal with making this bike was to make a trail rideable trials bike. I wanted something super agile that I could basically ride anything on. So having this bike with the short rear end, the long reach, the slack head angle, the short chain stays was something that allowed me to do that. So this is a really cool bike. It's made out of chromoly. For the brakes and drivetrain, it's a Shimano XTR Gruppo. And then for the handlebars, these are Shimano Tharsis bars. I have a Shimano Tharsis stem in 35 millimeters. I wanted to keep it really short. My fork is a DVO Diamond. It's at 140 millimeters of travel. The wheels are Industry 9 Enduro 305s. I wanted something super strong on this bike. This has the biggest tires on any of my bikes. It has a 2.6 front and rear. This is the Vittoria Agaro. I'm running flat pedals on here right now because I'm currently in the process of shooting a how-to video, and I get a lot of people asking me whether or not you could do these moves with flat pedals, so I wanted to put flat pedals on there just to do that. Another important part is the MRP bash guard. On this bike, I'm always trying to ride up and over stuff and it doesn't always go right. For the grips and saddle, I work with Ergon, and Ergon makes a ton of different grips. I really like the GE ones. They have a nice ergonomic shape, and this has the factory rubber, which when your hands get sweaty or whatever, they still grip really good. They have cool oil slick clamps. And then for the saddle, it's an SME Pro. Super comfortable for long rides. And last but not least, inside the tubes, you can tell from the orange water bottle is some orange seal sealant. That just keeps me worry-free out on the trail. So let's take a look at my next bike, which is my Reeb Squeeb full suspension bike. The seat post is a PNW 200 millimeter dropper. It's super reliable. I've been using their post for a couple years now and haven't had any issues. If you've ever had trouble with a dropper post, you know how much of a pain that could be. So having a good reliable dropper post is super important. And the wheels are Industry 9 Enduro 305s with the Hydra hub. You probably hear that in a lot of my videos, but having that super quick engagement on the free hub for technical riding is totally invaluable and really comes in handy. Next bike up is my Reeb Squeeb. I did a full bike check on this a couple weeks ago. In case you missed it, we'll do a quick overview. So this is a 130 millimeter rear travel frame with a 150 millimeter DVO Diamond fork, and then it has a DVO Topaz rear shock. Full XTR drivetrain and brakes. For the cockpit, this is a Pro 35 millimeter diameter bar with a 45 millimeter stem. For the grips, I'm using the Ergon GE1 grips again, in orange this time, with the factory formula. So moving back, I have the SME Pro seat with the oil slick rails, PNW 200 millimeter dropper post again. Super long drop, allows you to get the seat completely out of the way. And then for the wheels, I have these really rad custom Industry 9 wheels. Super cool sticker graphics on this bike that match my Pro Azumi jersey. Orange seal on the tires. I like to run a slightly smaller back tire on my trail bike just to keep it fast rolling. So I have a 2.35 Vittoria Agaro in the rear and a 2.6 Vittoria Martello in the front. Let's move on to the next bike, and that might be the one that's going to surprise you the most. This is my titanium Reeb adventure bike called the Sam's Pants. Never owned a titanium bike before. This is my first one, and it's really awesome. I built this thing up pretty rugged. I made a video riding it on some local mountain bike trails. I like to take this thing out on the road exploring. I'll start off on some hill climbs end up on some super tech trails, but this allows me to kind of just hit everything. So this bike is a ton of fun. Starting from the front and working to the back, I have a Wahoo Element Roam computer on there. I have some P&W bars, they're super wide. I switched to a 60mm stem because I want to keep everything short and tight. And I have an NV mountain bike fork, so that gets the front end high and it gives me tons of tire clearance. The brake combination is pretty unique on this bike. So I have GRX levers. The rear brake controls your shifter. The left brake controls your P&W dropper post, which is pretty sweet. And then the calipers on this bike are XTR calipers, so super strong brakes on this bike. That was kind of a unique setup, and then the crank and drivetrain setup is a little unique as well. So I have a Shimano XT 11-speed front crank, and then in the back I have a GRX rear derailleur with a GRX cassette, and that's connected to some cool Industry 9 gravel wheels. For tires, I'm running some Vittoria Terreno 2.1s, and I'm always amazed at how much traction these ball tires can get. And then those are filled with orange seal to keep me flat free out on the trail. This is a bike that I never really expected to own, and it's a blast. I love riding this thing. So let's check out the next bike, which has the next smallest wheels, and it's probably the most custom bike that I've ever owned. This bike truly deserves a bike check of its own. This is my fully custom 27.5 Reeb hip hop trials bike. If you've ever met me in person, you know that I'm super tall, so 26-inch trials bikes were feeling super small. Most people ride 24-inch trials bikes, but I spent so much time on 29er trail bikes, I wanted something that would cross over a little bit easier. So I dreamt this thing up, the guys from Reeb built it, and it's super awesome. So full chromoly frame, super long top tube, it's about 24 inches long. For the cockpit, I have Deity handlebar and stem. Again, using Ergon GE1 grips, pretty much my go-to grip with the SME Pro saddle. And then this is where things get kind of cool. I have Shimano XT brakes, 4 piston calipers, so I have nice strong brakes. 165 XT cranks on there. Brand new XT big platform pedals, those are super sweet. But then the rear drivetrain is a Shimano Saint, so it's only 10 speed, and I wanted to do that so I could have the smallest gear range possible. And then I also mixed a 12-speed front crankset with a 10-speed drivetrain. And as long as you go from the smaller, narrower front drivetrain to a larger 10-speed rear chain, it all works out perfectly. Guys from Shimano didn't necessarily recommend it, but I tried it and it worked. Running this bike tubeless, these are Vittoria 2.35 Martellos front and rear, and then the wheel set again is a 27.5 Enduro 305 by Industry 9 with the Hydra hub, and I've never had such a quick engaging hub on my trials bike. It's really amazing, and it makes all that stuff way easier and makes it super responsive. And protecting the front chainring is an MRP bash guard, and when you're riding trials, you're always going to end up hitting your bash guard, so that's super important. And then handling suspension duties up front is a 27.5 DVO diamond front fork, and I keep this thing as stiff as possible. We bumped up the compression on there a little bit to make it nice and stiff. Super high air pressure. When you're riding trials, you kind of only want your suspension fork to only work when you kind of screw up or you need to just soften the blow a little bit. So I keep my suspension on there really stiff, keep the seat on it really low, and this is a super fun bike. I'm gonna need to make you a video on this thing pretty soon. All right, last but not least, the smallest bike in my quiver. This is my Reeb Destroyer dirt jump bike. This is a stock geometry. I wanted to just make it stock so I could ride what you can buy. I chose this color custom. It's a really cool putty gray. So starting up front, I'm riding 50mm rise Deity bars connected to an ordnance stem, and that has some rise too. So it makes it really cool. I can slam my bars and still be super tall and get the right bar height. For brake duties, I just have a regular Shimano 2-piston XT brake on there. Probably could stand to go for something a little bit more powerful, but that's what I had, so that's what I threw on there. For grips, again, my go-to Ergon GE1s. Ergon downhill saddle, Deity seat post, really cool all blue Industry 9 Enduro 305 26-inch wheels. On the these also have a Hydra hub, but they're dedicated single speed, so that's super cool. And then for cranks, Shimano Z cranks with Shimano XT pedals. And for the front chainring, I have an Endless Bikes chainring, matches everything, keeps it nice and cool. All right, that was a quick look at all of my bikes. Hopefully you like the bike rack. leave a comment below and let me know which bike you want to see the next video on. I have a feeling that I know which one it's going to be. In the meantime, if you like this Trail Boss hat, I'll leave a link to that below. If you've been checking out some of my recent how-to videos, you'll know that I mentioned I started a Patreon recently with access to a private Facebook group where you could submit videos of yourself and I'll review them. So thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon. It's time to ride. So until next time, get out there and be a boss.